Okay, so we are officially recording. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Brandy with The Path for Health, and I'm super excited to introduce actually a gentleman that I followed probably well before he knew that I was following him over at RKC, which is our kettlebell life, and that was a big dream of mine, and was being not only a kettlebell student, but one of the best kettlebell students and instructors, and that's how I actually met Franz. So you guys, this is Franz Snideman.
Hey, Brandy, thank you so much. Yeah, it seems like we've known each other quite a while. I mean, it doesn't seem that long, but then you look back, I think it's been a long time.
It has.
So, yeah, I'm super pumped to be here, and I always love our conversations. I always love just the energy that we have, and just kind of where our brains go. So I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So I alluded a little bit about Franz and I having a kettlebell background, and I'm just going to kind of gloss over how I met Franz. It was, I was saving my pennies, and I had read Enter the Kettlebell, and I had studied kettlebells on YouTube, and I just really needed to be polished, and I really wanted to be put through the RKC ringer. I like struggle, and I like high bars. And I had heard about Franz, just YouTube and just anything, hard style kettlebell. And actually there was an offer in Modesto. Mike over in Modesto was throwing an HKC, which was a lot more affordable, than the regular RKC. And I was like, oh my gosh, I said to my husband, oh my gosh, I've got to go to this one. Franz Snideman is going to be there. And I was actually like nervous, like, oh my gosh, what's he going to be like, and everything. And I know. And I know, that, RKC was so much more paramilitary, and the discipline was a lot tighter, and I'm all into that. And so I was excited to be able to do that. And that's right when RKC Pavel was separating from RKC and established on first. So I was actually all set to go after you, Franz, got me tightened up at HKC, and I was ready to go full on RKC. And then they actually refunded my money and let me transfer over to Strong First, which was a pretty classy thing to do.
Very classy. Very classy.
The people that I respected the most weren't necessarily the promoters. They were a certain group of instructors. So that was it. And my husband asked me that night when I was exhausted and just drove home an hour and a half. He says, so what was Franz like? And I said, he's like chiseled out of rock. I said,
not anymore.
I felt like knocking on him, like, are you made out of steel, or whatever. But
that's funny.
One of the things that impressed me the most was your humility and your way of, as an instructor, being a world-class instructor. There was a way that you just brought everything down to the level of the mat and the newest student, because oddly enough, there were people there that had really not kettlebelled more than a couple times. And sure. I remember I made this I don't know, I doubt you remember, but we'd met each other, you introduced yourself to me, and before everything started, and you asked me what my goal was. And I said, someday I'd like to be a level 2 instructor.
Yes.
So when we were going around the class and everybody was introducing themselves, after I introduced myself, you turned to the class and said, I don't know if you guys know this, but she's going to challenge the level 2 right away. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, he's going to think I'm crazy, or whatever. But but it was a great day. And that seemed like a million years ago. And I have some of my things on the back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, hitting my goals, making level 2, level 1, level 2, and then spreading the love and going and assisting, which was really, really
great. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So tell me, so that's how we met, you guys. That's for all y'all watching. That's how we met. So Franz, where do you want to start? Where you want to start with maybe your background? What brought you even to that insane level of instructors, mastery, and fitness? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know what? I want to comment a bit about that one certification, and it kind of sparked some comments that I've received from many people who've taken my kettlebell courses over whatever the last 10, 12 years. No, like 14, 15 years. But basically that, like with the RKC and Pavel and this like kind of militant, Soviet comrade type of organization, I wasn't a very good representative of the military kind of mindset, because I didn't grow up like that. And I think a lot of people were taken aback. They're like, well, his name is Franz, probably has a brother named Hans. He's, God, this guy's got to be like some big macho military guy. And then they meet me and they're like, you're Franz? Like, really? Like, you don't fit the mold at all. And I think that's kind of been my story with that organization. And is that, like, I'm just not a military guy. And I think if people resonated with me, maybe they resonated with me because I wasn't like that.
Right.
So there is a little bit of a fear, I think, when you go into this kind of perceived environment of like, oh my God, everybody's got to, you got to run to the station and you got to behave a certain way and look a certain way. And then I show up and I'm pretty easygoing that way. Like, I'm very accepting of people. And I think if I had success, maybe it was because I was able to kind of take people's nerves down a notch or two and realize, hey, we're all human. It's just a persona. Like, this is just movement. We're just moving, stuff around.
Yes.
So I think to really kind of sum that whole up, like I really saw the kettlebell back in 2002 is when I first got exposed to it. I saw it as a means of just, number one, improving myself. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really even know there was a whole world behind it. I met Paul in 2002, hired him to teach me how to use a kettlebell on Santa Monica Beach. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I considered myself a pretty good athlete. I mean, I was a former track and field sprinter in college. I ran some pretty good times. I had done some training with a guy named Paul Check, who was a very prominent kind of functional movement guy back in the late 90s. So I felt super prepared. And when I got to the kettlebell world, I was awful. My body didn't move that way. Right. So I was intrigued. So really, I saw it as an opportunity to learn something new, to get mastery in another skill. I've always loved learning. And then I realized there was an educational system behind it with the RKC and eventually StrongFirst. And I just stuck around the system. I didn't do anything special. I just took every educational course there was. I befriended Pavel. I called him all the time and said, hey, can I come assist you? I just bugged him. And I think, he just allowed me to. And so I was very fortunate. I've always had very good mentors in my life. And it was a really good run. I don't teach actively for StrongFirst anymore, but I mean, I still teach my own courses. I mean, I still heavily use the kettlebell, but I don't really niche myself as a kettlebell guy. Right. But I think a lot of people in the community, at least, and kind of still know me as a kettlebell guy, and that's fine. Like,
you remember the YouTube videos selling and promoting the RKC?
Yes, I do.
Those were wicked videos.
Those were awesome.
Things are grueling like that. Because, I've done like a lot of endurance sports. So I'm like, sign me up for that. I feel like I'm going to die, and I liked the brotherhood, brotherhood, sisterhood, the community.
It's awesome.
It was super awesome. And I tend to fire up by somebody placing a challenge before me that I have a little bit of fear in, like, I don't know about that. I totally want to do it, kind of a thing. But the one thing that I noticed right off with both RKC, you were my very first RKC instructor that I met. And then it continued on with, Andrea and Mark Chain and Karen, and just, I can list off 100 of them, and meeting Pavel himself. And one of my compliments, and this sounds ridiculous, but I'll back it up. One of my own personal compliments is when I was at SFG 1. And I am strong. I've always been very strong. I'm not as strong now as I used to be, but me throwing around the 12 kilogram was ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I didn't have a very challenging weekend because I'm only a featherweight. And so Pavel walked up to me about halfway through, and in his Pavel way says, Brandy, very strong. very strong.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and the reason why I say that is because compliments are only worthy to me, or praise is only worthy to me when it comes from somebody I respect.
Totally.
And that was something that Pavel, I really respected, his integrity with his program and the discipline that was there. But I really never met an arrogant instructor. I met when we were all actually in person, you know, Brandon Hetzler and the whole group, and, you know, Jason and Marshall and in Texas, everybody was super
Totally
humble,
agree. Totally
come
agree.
alongside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, this is not like the video, you know, that it
Right.
was disciplined for safety. And I say a lot of times that my strength that I have found in life not only comes from my own spiritual relationship with Christ and how that happened in my life, but what I have learned on the mat. I have struggled on the mat. I have set goals on the mat, and I've had great mentors on the mat. And that has, and a desire to learn and be better. One of the things that my own facility has adopted and used to be written on all my boards is better is better. And that's from Brett Jones, you know?
Absolutely,
and so, yeah, that's really crafted the foundation of even how I've handled my chronic illness and my, I don't really want to call it a downward spiral, but it really was my health, you know, going downhill and having this making level 2, doing crazy weighted, your wife was doing some crazy weighted pull-ups the other day and doing things like that. And I'm lifting 3/4 of my body weight for Turkish get-ups and all of these things. And then I get sick and I don't understand the injuries, and my foundation is so strong and my fundamentals are so good. I understand you met that same wall, right? Where you're like, what's going on, you know? So can you you want to talk about that a little bit, about you got this great foundation of sports and athleticism, and with that comes an implied mindset. And so tell me your story about kind of what happened.
Yeah. You know, I think I've always been athletic. I've always been very much really drawn to movement and sports. And it was an outlet for me as a kid to really just kind of boost my confidence. And growing up in kind of a alcoholic home, like I really needed a foundation. So I didn't get the foundation from my parents, but I got it from sports, and I got it from sports teams. So didn't really know I would ever end up just as a coach and as a trainer, but it really was my identity. And like you said, when you're used to sports, you're used to team sports, you're used to individual sports, there's kind of this mindset to where you can handle anything.
Yes.
And you can, even when time gets rough, you can always rely on the tough moments and say, well, wait a second, I've gone through some serious stuff that's been really hard. I can get through this.
Yeah.
And yeah, totally. And I think I hit probably my mid-30s and just realized that I just felt off. I just, like, I was in a pretty bad marriage, which I'm not afraid to admit. I think a lot of people have a mulligan, like, whoa, that was a rough one. Ended up having 2 amazing kids from it, which is a total blessing. But I really neglected a lot of signs, and I didn't really know how to not just keep pushing. I was running a fitness facility. I was burning the candle at both ends, and I started just having these terrible anxiety attacks driving home from work. I was probably, I think, my wife at the time was pregnant with our first child. And I can remember just being in traffic for like an hour, and I would just literally want to like run up into the hills. And I said, what is going on with me? Like, why? I just felt like super claustrophobic. But
were you having like emotional signs, or were you having physical?
I was having everything. Everything.
Me too.
Everything. Yeah. My world literally just started like from the very fabric DNA of like who I am as a person. I just, like, the problem with me is that unfortunately, I won't really ever deal with issues until I'm forced to deal with them. And then what happens is my body breaks down, and it did. I ended up in the hospital about 2 or 3 times. I'd stayed the night. They just said, nothing's wrong with you. You have, you just probably had a panic attack. Stop drinking coffee and you'll be fine. But really, it was I don't really know what was wrong with me then, but I realized then, in looking back, I had an autoimmune issue since I was a kid. I had always been super sensitive to food. I had always felt brain foggy. I had always had a very different immune system than other kids. And there was something physiologically there that had nothing to do with me being tough. It had nothing to do with me being like, oh, you just got to try harder. Right. I have an autoimmune issue.
Right.
And it affects my mind. It affects my emotions. It affects my soul. And, it really took me years of struggle and of just being brutally honest with myself that, like, I cannot live life the same way other people live life.
So I totally know what you're going through. And I think, and I don't know if you felt this, but I had an added piling on kind of pressure of being the image of a gym owner and strength professional. And at that time, I only had basic nutrition training, of course, my CEs as a personal trainer, I would, I remember saying, I never, ever hope to get into chronic illness or supplementation or knowing about all these finer points, of nutrition. I just kind of want to stick between these easy lines, like there are any. But did you feel external pressure of maintaining your Franz Snideman? You know what I mean?
Well, definitely, because
because
I'm the type of person, though, even though my inner life could be just going to absolute hell. Like, if somebody comes in for a training session or a Zoom call, or like if I'm teaching a seminar, I don't want anybody to know that anything's wrong with me, because I want them to have such a positive experience that I will say, you know what, they don't, like, right now it's not about me, it's about them. Right. And I will do everything I can to put my best foot forward, even if I feel like absolute dog meat, because I think that's just kind of my role and my purpose as a human. I'm here to, I am an encourager, number one. I'm a teacher, number two. I want people, so that's just what, if you ask me what my purpose is to encourage, my purpose is to teach, and to hopefully help people become self-aware to change. I can't change anybody, but if I can encourage them and I can teach them, what I've come to the conclusion is that if I can get them on their own merit and their own self-awareness to realize, hey, you know what, I know when I do A, I feel B, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. That's all I can hope for. If I can do that, then that's kind of my role. That's like kind of what, that's what I am. But the challenge with that is that sometimes you can get so caught up in that role that you forget to, really take care of the golden goose, which is me.
Yes.
So if I don't sharpen my own saw and I don't fix my own issues, I'm ultimately not going to be helpful for anybody, because I won't be here. I'll be dead. I mean, I hate to say that.
Right. And you probably did the same thing I was doing, that while you were coaching, and I always thought that I was really transparent. I taught, boxing and other things. And I never put on any sort of airs of being perfect. My limitations, my tight hamstrings, or my lack of ankle mobility, that even Steve Maxwell was like, I don't know what to do with these ankles. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Always transparent about that and my struggles. But I was in this like cloud in the beginning. I was about 38. I'm 48 and a half now. This beginning to where I wasn't even fully, my athletically trained mind wasn't looking at myself in the objective way that I needed to look at myself. I just kept kind of putting in the work and trying to train smarter and, be smarter. And I feel like since my own battle, and I feel victory with my own autoimmune issues, is that it's actually shown me that, just like in my own faith, that my weaknesses are my greatest strengths. And what I share with my clients and how I deal with it isn't so much just do as I do, but just to show them this can be done. And I think that you and I share that encouraging, that teaching. When I learned something, my career started changing.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I started getting less people that wanted to be badass and more people drawn to me that were struggling with these gray areas. So did you find with I know you're really good at passing on what you learn. And I know you were passing things on because I saw it in your social media, what you were passing on, as what you learned. Did it change who is drawn to you as a client? Did you start to see more people come to you with anxiety issues, digestive issues, or did you pretty much still stay in a certain niche of clients?
No, I mean, I think because my schedule's so busy, I'm still kind of servicing a lot of the same clients, but
right.
I'm definitely having those conversations with the same people. And we're rather than staying on like the surface level of just fitness and reps and sets,
yes.
and we're diving deep.
Yes.
We're able to dive deep into sleep. Well, maybe we'll spend 6 months just working on sleep, and it may take 6 months to a year to get their sleep to come right.
Right.
Or I have some clients that we're just working on, we're just working on them getting to make better choices on the weekend, which I never used to do. I never used to touch.
Me neither.
I just would like, you know what, you go to somebody else for that. And I think maybe similar to you, I think because of some of my own health issues, I've almost, I don't want to say forced, but it's like almost like I've just been drawn towards like, well, this is like the next, like I haven't forgotten what I do, but I'm evolving and I'm learning new skills because I really think health is the foundation. Fitness is important, but I think you and I both agree that if you build fitness on top of a very unhealthy foundation, eventually it cracks.
Yes.
So really it's health first, fitness second. I mean, I like to look at it as a union, but the fact of the matter is, I mean, you can be very unhealthy, but pretty strong, relatively fit, but be an immune nightmare and just a ticking time bomb. So,
that's what I was. Yeah. So I know for me, I've got to a point, and the reason why I renamed my business The Path for Health is because a path changes. I'm a hiker. We're all hikers. Our two oldest sons are climbers, and they're getting big walls. So I said, I have got to see you do some of these multi-pitch climbs before you do these gigantor big walls, because we live in some of the best climbing in the world. This right out literally beside our doorstep. And so I got to get myself prepared to see my boys up there with, nothing but, a little hunk of metal, holding them on.
That's crazy.
And
yeah.
8,000 feet in the air. Right. But, my own autoimmune disease it's a path, and there's different things on it. First, it was really rocky. I was really lost. I was in the dark. I felt frustrated. And luckily I have the absolute best husband ever. We've been together for 30 years and he's just, just straight from heaven. This guy's just amazing. And he cooks. And so, it's just, it's amazing. And luckily having him on my side and him encouraging me and telling me when to back off. But I'm at a place with my autoimmune diseases. I have two. The first one is spondyloarthropathy. I just call it spondy. I figure it's friendlier sounding. And I've had signs of it since I was a child, just the body pain and whatever joint issues since I was a child. And that's an inflammatory arthritis that wants to eventually fuse my spine. And we're not going to let that happen, so fuse my spine kind of a thing, but it explains a lot of things, about, and I have enthesitis, which is where my muscles connect to, via ligaments and that they get really inflamed. So when I'm doing certain things and I go too heavy, I literally can just rip my muscles right off my bones,
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, so that one, is an inflammatory issue. Autoimmune diseases have their roots in inflammation. And then my most recent is early stages lupus. And I'm just now going kind of public with that because there's like a mindset that I needed to get on board with. And basically it's like, screw that, it's a name. It's
you're not your identity is not your diagnosis. That's not you.
That is exactly right. And I've said that over the years to so many people, and now I've really owned it, and it's early stages. I have all the coveted hydroxychloroquine that people have been wanting through the COVID thing. It's just, I don't use it. It's just sitting in the laundry room just in case or whatever.
No, I'm joking.
I know, right? Right. And so it's very dangerous medication. I don't care who tells you anything else. It's very dangerous medication. And so I'm managing that very, very well with diet and lifestyle, food choices, avoiding foods that I know that are inflammatory on both an everyone basis. And then I know my specific trigger foods to keep my inflammation low. And when I live that way and I honor the type of movement and how often and stuff like that, I feel flippin' fantastic. And so I could care less, what you say I have. And I have enough energy, but when I was waiting for you to go get on, I'm like all, kind of stuff, just to feel good and loose and pumped up and ready for this. But that's why I'm so passionate about doing what I'm doing, is because I'm on my path and I don't know what's ahead. And it doesn't mean there will ever be a cure. It doesn't mean that my diseases won't progress, but it means that I'm aware of what I can control and that I kind of accept where that is. And I'm going to be better is better.
Randy, that's beautiful. That is really well said. Wow. I love that.
And so that's what I get from you and your posts. You still share predominantly more things about fitness. And I think you really have a good bead on what society needs, like all through COVID with everybody being home. You were like home workouts, quick workouts, and everything. And I commend you. And I personally, I like to take my trainer hat off and just say, I'm going to do what Franz is talking about. You know what I mean? Or something like that. But it's nice. But tell me how you have dealt with your own autoimmune disease and education. I know that you have, and that's what I did. I went back for more formalized education to, believe it or not, heal myself, because I wasn't finding answers in conventional Western medicine. I was finding pharmaceuticals. So that's not to say that I'm anti-pharmaceutical. It's just that I feel like there were other things I could address first.
Totally.
And so if you want to talk a little bit about that, your mindset, maybe as an individual with your autoimmune disease and kind of where you are right now, if you want to share. And then tell us more about your education that you kind of are adding on.
Yeah, well, okay. Long story short, I had a very good friend who is a very good trainer here in the San Diego area, also has autoimmune issues. And I saw him go through a course called FDN, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. It's based out of San Diego. And I've heard about it, and I was exposed to the kind of the original concepts of kind of this functional medicine and diagnostic testing that's not really like doctor-based, although it is definitely, medical-based.
Scientific.
So I was intrigued because I said, you know what, I'm really having, I think after about a year before my third child was born, Michaela, she's 19 months now, I didn't sleep. I wasn't sleeping. I had about a year where I'd wake up at about 1 or 2 and I'd stay up the rest of the night.
Oh.
And I knew something was off and my health just started deteriorating. So kind of out of desperation, I called my buddy. I said, John, I know you're posting all this stuff on gut testing. I said, I've always had really poor digestion and, just a lot of problems down there. Do you think you can help me? And he said, absolutely. So I hired him and we did a battery of tests. And one of them was called the GI map. Yeah. So I did the GI and I got the results back, and it was at first I was a little scared because I said, oh no, like I've got all these like pre-cancer things. And then I said, well, wait a second, like this is actually good news because it means there's something I can do. There's something I can battle. I ended up having a bacteria called H. pylori, something called SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And I had all these markers that were very immune dominant. That just showed my immune system was really angry. Yeah. And it really shed light to me as to why I wasn't sleeping. Because at night, my immune system was battling a parasite called blastohominus, which is a nasty it is bad.
It is bad.
And I must say, even a year and a half into it, I'm still battling it. Sure. I went through an amazing like 6 or 7 month period where I was just like perfect. I fixed my diet. I got all the foods that I was, that I was reacting to immune system wise, and you can test for that.
Yep.
And gradually I felt good. What did I do? I started throwing in a little bit of dairy. I started throwing in a little bit of wheat. I started drinking a little bit of wine, which I don't do well with.
Yeah.
And then over months, I start same thing. Can't sleep at night. Can't sleep at night. Waking up at 2 a.m, can't go back. So it was the same cycle happening all over again. And that leads to obviously less recovery. Your training's not as good. My mood's not as good. I'm not as present during the day.
Right.
So really for me, it's just a matter of like, I have to take it seriously, because if not, I just don't function well.
Right.
So for me, it's just become like, I can have two mindsets. I can say, woe is me. I can't eat all these things my wife can eat. My wife can do dairy. She can do cheese. She feels nothing. She can eat chili. She can eat spicy curry. I can't do any of it.
I always say right now. Yeah, I always say right now. You know what I mean? Right now. Because we change so much.
Totally.
Yeah.
So the spicy food I've not been able to have since I was a kid. And I grew up in a Mexican family. My dad's German, but my mom's from Mexico. So we had jalapenos and fresh tortillas and chili, and I was never able to handle it. I wasn't able to handle it then. I think that's just a DNA thing. I think my DNA just doesn't do well with spice. But when I eat the foods that are better for me, when I choose to make better choices, my health improves. I sleep better. If I do the stuff I need to do, and you talked about it, those foundational big rocks, the big rocks. I take a lot of supplements because they do help me, but they'll never take the place of me turning off the TV early, sitting down and stretching for 30 to 40 minutes, breathing, relaxing, praying, just chilling out, and just like, if I do the things I need to do, I get the results I need. The problem is I'm human, and I don't always do the right thing. I'm much better than I used to be.
You posted about that, and I was going to send you a message, and I don't know if I did, that you splurged on something at lunch or whatever it was. This was 6-9 months ago or whatever. You splurged at lunch, and it just ruined you for 2 or 3 days.
Ruined me. Yeah.
And, I thought, I laughed for one, because, or whatever. But I was so proud of you for posting your journey, because I feel that as a teacher, and I know that we're on the same page with this as well, the most powerful stories are from screw ups. They're the testimonials, kind of a thing. And they show that, we're not living in a glass house here, that we go outside and we do things, and you never know what's going to turn somebody else's light on. And in that one post, somebody could have thought, whoa, he ate something weird on Monday, and it took him till Thursday to feel better. If you know what I'm saying, just little correlations, for people. But that was really awesome. One of my favorite treats, and I don't get to do it very often, is champagne and French fries. Nice. And, heaven better smell like horses, have mountains to hike, and have some champagne and French fries laying around.
Oh my God. That's good.
I know. And so I'll go out and do that. And what's funny is we live in a small town, and eventually one of my past clients, I owned a big gym here. One of my past clients will walk in, or somebody, and they'll be like, oh, you're having French fries? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And I know how to set myself up for it. And I know how many I can have. And I know how I've got to stay really great after for so many days. And I also know the next day I'm going to wake up with tighter muscles and
joint pain.
Make sure they're gluten-free. But my whole body will be on a higher level of pain that day. And it's worth it for me. But the key I try and tell people is, but I knew it. It was a conscious decision that I made, that I was weighing the benefit of eating those French fries and champagne, and the risk of not feeling so great. Not horrible, not laying on the couch kind of a thing, but I'd just be tired, affect my workout and everything else. Did you notice, and I know the answer to this, but the listeners might not know, did you notice a significant difference in panic attacks and staying away from your triggering foods that made you not feel well physically. Did you notice a correlation with your mental or emotional health?
I mean, I think definitely when I less caffeinated, I get less anxious. I think I've just been kind of an anxious kid, growing up in a little bit of a turbulent household. I was wired that way because of my environment. I don't know if that's how I naturally am. I think your environment shapes you. Yeah. So what really helped me destroy the panic attacks, like destroy them, was actually a book I got from England called The Linden Method. And it was probably the most eye-opening book. And it literally like instantly gave you the secret to kill panic attacks. And I'll tell you what it is. You ready? The secret is distraction. That's the secret. If your mind cannot hold, like, let's say you're afraid. I used to be really afraid of going into like tunnels as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Or as an adult, I couldn't cross the Golden Gate Bridge even because I was so afraid. I have a lot of fears.
Right.
So I'd be driving the bridge and I'd be fine, but internally I thought I was literally dying in my body.
Right.
But so really, once I learned that, it's like whenever I have any kind of, if you distract yourself or you literally deal with the fear face on and say, come on, let's go. Like right now. It doesn't do anything. It just totally dissolves.
So do you have experience with EFT?
Very, very minimal. Very, very minimal. I didn't see much with it, but I don't know if I was doing it right.
Right. Yeah. I actually didn't have anxiety that I was able to identify creep up into my life till I was about 4 years into autoimmune situation. And, my heart would race. I would feel like I got to get out of here, and they weren't in times of stress. They were actually in times of great enjoyment, like being in my Jeep, top off, heading up to high elevation with one of my sons to go do a mother-son hike. And he's talking and I'm talking and all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to pass out while I'm driving and
I've had that. Oh, definitely.
And I'm like, I got to get my crap together, kind of a thing. And of course I'm a good faker when it comes to stuff like that. And so I just kind of just power through the moment or whatever. But that's when I was introduced to EFT. And it really spoke to me because of me being a functional movement specialist and always having an interest in neuro work. The tapping on places is the distraction, that you're talking about. Right. And there is the biochemical effect as well. But the distraction of tapping and then the words that you're saying to yourself are acknowledging what's happening and then basically telling yourself it's okay.
It sounds very similar. It sounds extremely similar.
And I've actually used it a handful of times in acute anxiety situations, which one of our grandsons has epilepsy, and he was over in the Bay at the Children's Hospital, and we had been going back and forth every day because he was just 2 to relieve, our kids and stuff and to be there for support. And I was driving their car because they would hopefully be coming home that night. And it's a 3 or 4 hour drive to the Bay, depending on traffic from where we live. And so in the middle of, I'm going like 80, 85 miles an hour in the Bay Area, and I'm screaming through, and all of a sudden I'm having this anxiety attack come on. Yeah. So I'm changing lanes a little bit, thinking if I need to pull over, I need to get to the right. My husband's behind me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start tapping. So my ego popped up. I'm all alone. My ego pops up because I don't want anybody to see.
Yeah, like, wait a second.
I'm tapping.
Whoa,
that I'm tapping while I'm driving. And it's funny what games, you're playing in your head. But I have to tell you that I did it and worked on my breathing and calmed myself right down in only a matter of a minute or 2.
That's incredible.
Which was really great. And so I don't know, you know how to do your body, but that's something that I coach through a lot of my clients that suffer through acute anxiety. And then of course, meditation, to keep anxiety kind of at bay. So we're winding it to the end, and I want to give you the opportunity here to give some tips to the listeners or watchers of the video or whatever, give some tips. And really, the sky's the limit, whatever you want to address, and kind of maybe 3 or 5 of your most powerful tips, some small action steps that maybe they can pick one or all, you know.
Yeah, right. No, totally. Yeah. Okay. So I would say, if you're in a situation where maybe you have some health issues or maybe relationship issues, or we all have our challenges. I don't know what they are, but I know you have them because you're human. Everybody here has one. I would say, like, the number one tip I give to my coaching clients now, especially when I start working with them, is pull out a pen, pull out a paper, and as cliche as it sounds, write what your purpose is. You don't have to have it immediately, but like why are you here? Like, what's your purpose? What's your mission? You can have multiple purposes, and they can change depending on what's going on. Maybe you have a different purpose during COVID as a mom than you do when you're in the boardroom. But number one, I find that a lot of health issues and a lot of digestive issues can stem from not having a purpose and not really being clear. You need clarity. That whole book, know your why. Like, why are you doing something? So if you're really needing to get rid of some stuff in your life that needs to be cut away, like, don't be like me, which is you wait until it forces you to do it. I would, if you can get to the point where you can just snip it out of your life, I would say number one, purpose. And 2, I always tell people, like, let go of the things that aren't good for you. So that could be food. We all have foods that are not good for us. But wait, that doesn't mean you can never eat them. It just means for the majority of your time, let go of stuff. And that could be toxic relationships. It could be a business that somebody needs to get out of. Maybe you're in a toxic business that you need to let go. And I mean, I've been there before.
Me too.
So I don't know what it is for you, but there's something that you need to let go of. And nature abhors a vacuum, right? Yes. If you're holding on to something with a fist, is what I always tell people, like, until you open up the fist, nothing good's going to come into that hand unless it's open. Right now, I've had many CEO clients that are billionaires or basically close to billionaires, and they've told me that they held on to things so tight because they were so afraid to let their business go or to kill a part of their business. But until they let it go, then something else more amazing that they never could have even dreamed of, a new opportunity. So as scary as it is, I think the adversity that comes from letting something go is actually the best thing you can do. And that's across the board, from food, from drinking, from maybe, for example, you can't drink wine, but maybe you can drink a little bit of vodka. I don't know.
Right.
You can always change it, right?
Right.
So purpose number one, and then cutting the things out that you need to cut out.
Yeah.
Right? And then 3, I always tell people, like, you have to have something fun in your life. You have to have something to look forward to, and I call that play.
Yeah.
So what I always tell my clients is, hey, like, you're an adult. The danger of being an adult is that being an adult will kill you, right? It's like, literally, it's what Chip Conrad calls adulticide. Yes. Where you don't play anymore. Like, there's no play. Like, I mean, what's great about having kids is that you play. Yes. You get out and you play and you get on scooters. It's like, it can be that, or it could be playing card games or a puzzle. It doesn't have to have any purpose. You don't need the bad purpose for play. But adults don't play enough. And right. Really, like, if somebody's eating well and they're training and they got the schedule and they got everything planned out, but they're miserable, I'm like, something's missing here. Your diet's dialed in, your body fat's low, you look good in a bathing suit, but like, why aren't you happy? You're just no joy. Right? So I always say, like, like a small tip, it could be something as small as go buy a puzzle, go throw frisbees with your grandkids, or do that one thing you've always wanted to do. I mean, maybe right now you can't fly to Africa right now, but soon you will be able to.
Yeah.
Like, life is short. Like, you gotta have play in your life. Like that. I mean, and Dan John, who you're a big fan of, and he always talks about that, right? He always talks about play. But that's why I physically play games with my clients.
Yes.
Play tag. I throw frisbees, or those aerobie things with, like, with all my clients, because when's the last time an adult threw or caught something?
I love it.
Right? I'm like, come on, like get out and play. That will keep you young. That will keep you young.
Yes.
Never get rid of play. And then I would say, finally, I would say, for me, like you got to find those things that anchor you. And I think it's different for like for some people, I have clients and have friends that are huge meditators. And for me, that's not an anchor for me. I just can't. My meditation, Brandy, is hiking.
That's great.
Yeah. Or my meditation is just stretching at night and breathing. But I can't sit and I just can't do it. But what anchors me as a human being is physical movement every day.
Yeah.
So if that's like my KPI, that's my key performance indicator, is that if I'm moving well and I'm mindful and I move. So for me, I've got to lift weights consistently, and I've got to get some intensity out of my body. I'm pretty ADHD and I'm pretty hyper. So I've got to get a lot of energy out of my body to be healthy. So I would say my tip for everybody is to just find that one thing that anchors you as a human. And then like if I get physical movement in, then my diet's better. Yeah. If I get physical movement in, then I make better choices with my sleep. If I get physical movement in, I'm more productive with my business and I make, but if I remove that, I don't eat as well. I crave pancakes or,
sure.
Not that there's anything wrong with pancakes, because I had gluten-free pancakes this morning and I will always have gluten-free pancakes. But I think it's really finding that big rock for you. I mean, what do you think it is for you? I mean, what do you think your like main anchoring behavior is for you to make that has that carryover effect to everything else?
Mine actually is my morning, and I couldn't agree more with the 4 priorities or pillars or tips or whatever that you laid out. I couldn't agree more. And the anchoring for me is my foundation for my day. I'm an early bird by nature, and I am a extroverted introvert. So I actually prefer to be by myself.
I'm like you. I'm pretty similar to you. I'm very extroverted, but I need alone time.
Yeah, I can be like we are when we're running camps and there's 100 people that needs to be addressed, and we need to have good energy and we need them to retain what we're saying and be engaged. You and I are both very good at that, and we're built for it. However, the reason why I can do that is because I wake up in the morning and I have my routine of getting my coffee and I do dry brushing and some lymphatic work and whatever in my morning. And then I need to pray. I need to surrender to the day and my purpose. I really have to remember who I am and what my purpose is today and this season in my life, and my own expectations. I need to put those aside, and I need to basically clear the whiteboard. We both teach with whiteboards, and whatever. And so I need to clear it up, and then I need to pour into me good things. And so now I'm clear, and then I'm going to fill my board up with good things and things that are true.
Beautiful.
And I read my Bible. And I don't set a specific time about it because I really want it to be just intuitive and personal. And it's a living document. And so I want it to be able to do its work. And then from there, I will meditate. And my meditations happen in different ways. Sometimes it is quiet, seated, very guru style or whatever. Sometimes it's guided, that I want to put on somebody that's going to take me on a mental journey. Absolutely. Sometimes it means I hit the mat and I need to move through what I was just learning for the day, what I put on my whiteboard. I need to kind of move through it a little bit. And so I try not to stay too regimented on exactly what those steps need to be in detail, but they're all taken in whatever form. And only then do I feel like I can confidently live out my purpose. I feel like I'm equipped, I've got the right mindset, and I'm just ready to go do it. And that's fun for me. that's where I find the fun, and I can encourage my own clients to play and be sassy and stuff like that. And then having like the hiking, and that's why I have a Jeep that it's top off, man. Take it off, mess up the hair, get a little sunburn, or whatever. But that's why I love being around my boys, because even though they're full-grown men, and I think you met one of them. I think you met Jacob down in San Diego. He's now this tall. Jacob, I think, is this tall now. Yeah. And the other week ago, we were out on the lawn. 4 grandkids are running around, and my own 3 sons are doing, oh my God, the worst cartwheels and round-offs you've ever seen in your entire life. These are mountain climbers. I mean, they're flexible and strong, and they have their own injuries from being pretty wicked, crazy athletes when they were younger. But the laughing and the joy that I get out of just being around people that make me feel good, and like I don't have to do my hair. Like I put some lipstick on to spend some time with you, but that's about it. This is like gym hair, don't care, kind of a thing. But so I couldn't agree more with, and not just because I live it, but because I've coached it for over 20 years as well. And this is kind of where I see everything come together for people too, is it's just not what you eat and how often you work out, that if you don't have these,
I totally agree with you. Yeah. I think we have very similar kind of coaching principles, but they're just like those foundational values. Obviously people have different values, but I think as a coach, you kind of attract the clients that need your message. I mean, you can't help everybody. Not everybody, it's a lot easier to preach to the choir.
Yeah, and the accountability is what I want to get to next. I want people to know how to contact you, your website, your social media stuff, and your email if you want. I'll make sure, that I also post that, but I want you to say it. But accountability. You and I have personalities where we have a very heavy level of accountability built in. Yeah. That's why we do what we do, is because we naturally walk the walk and talk the talk. And even when no one's looking, I know you're still training. I know I'm still training.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No one's looking, right? Kind of a thing. We're in my home gym right now, and it's fully loaded. It's like fully loaded. Anything functional is in here, kind of a thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so some people just need accountability. And I think that is a wisdom and not a crutch. I think it's knowing where your shortcomings are. And that's how we fill in each other's gaps, is something that I'm strong in, maybe somebody else needs help with, and vice versa. So for anybody that is watching this, is that I'm personally not taking on any more personal training clients again. I have tapered that off, and I'm really focusing on women's health over 40, definitely with the body pain and joints, and even filing down even tighter to Christian women that want to weave in and sort this out with their faith. Because in a lot of situations, when your health starts to deteriorate, it really sparks a crisis of faith, that you're like, what's going on? And you know what I mean? And whatever.
My God. It's absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm being brave, and I am throwing it out there and saying, I do want to work with Christian women, and that doesn't mean I'm excluding anybody at all. I still work with men, and or whatever, but it's just that my language and my intention, marketing wise, and how I'm teaching, is going to be that group. But if you don't want to hear that, you can filter that out and still work with me. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. But for people that need accountability and they need a trainer, and I know that you're growing your online training business, which I think is really, really wonderful. Can you share with us how to get in contact with you, how you work with people? Is it just hour, half hour, weekly? How do you do that?
Yeah. First of all, you can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just my name, Franz Snideman. And so I'm on those. I'm probably more active on Facebook and definitely Instagram. And then I have a website, which is FSathletics, Franz Snideman, FSathletics.com. But I really am focused, probably similar to you. I do a lot more online coaching, where I'm not necessarily training people as much, although I still do that. But most of what I do now is kind of monthly coaching programs, where we take an audit of your diet, your lifestyle, your training or lack of training. You don't have to currently be exercising.
Right. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. This is real life. Dog's like, I need to get out. I need to get out now.
Now she's coming back in. She's 94 in dog years.
Oh God.
She's an old girl. She's very faithful.
God.
So when you say you're doing monthly training programs, does that mean that they meet with you once a month for just a check-in and you?
Yeah. So basically, okay. So I mean, it's kind of evolving, but basically, we talk or we Zoom every 2 weeks, but I formulate a plan. I upload it to an app, and through that app, we do all our communication. You have videos on there. It's seamless. It's easy. But the most important thing is that you have a roadmap, you have structure, and you have me every day checking in on you. Did you do your program? So, and for those that are open, we definitely do an audit of their nutrition. There's a heavy emphasis just kind of on subjectively and medical history on what's going on with their current health.
Yep.
So it's really a marriage of making sure they're adequately moving their bodies, appropriate for them, and that we're really starting to address the most important things, kind of like what we talked about. Obviously, getting them some kind of a purpose. I'm not a life coach at all, but like I'd like to know where people are, because I feel if you don't get to those core values of somebody, I don't really know how to support them. Absolutely. I really need to know why they're doing what they're doing. Then I can come in and say, well, we're going to work just on a couple of things. And really, I'd say if I were to sum up everything I do in my coaching, is I find the movements you can safely do, what I call your superpower movements. Yep. You find your superpower foods, and you focus on the stuff you can do, not the stuff you can't do.
Right.
And you get early victories. And so you just get success. Why? Because we're making it doable.
That's right.
It's not rocket science. It's got to be doable. But what most people need with coaching, which is why we need people like you, is that people need accountability.
Yeah.
People need encouragement, and people need structure.
Totally.
And God bless you if you don't need any of that, then you're not human. But everybody, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And I need it.
I've hired coaches for myself,
Exactly.
To get me ready for things. I've hired coaches where I have had blind spots to some of my own movements, and my husband's getting ready to retire. And so what do? We go to a professional. And we're going, he's going to retire. What do we need to know? What do we need to do? Because we don't know these things. And
it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of intelligence. Hey, I want to get from point A to point B. I want to enjoy the process. I don't know how to do it.
Yes.
I need you to help line my compass in the right way so I can get there.
I love it.
And I'm not for everybody, but I'm a good fit for certain people. I'm a really good fit for certain people. So that's what I do. And anybody want to contact me?
Male and female, adult and youth?
Right now I'm predominantly working with, I'd say, people between the age of like 35 and 65. 35 and 65,
35, 65, and that sounds awesome. And just knowing that you have a background in not only personal training, but also with your own health, and how that's been like a whole learning curve and everything. I think that that's where the rubber meets the road, is those life experiences. And
absolutely.
Some people hear this wrong the way I say it, but this is just the way I say it, is I would never go to a fat trainer. I'm not I don't mean to offend all the fat trainers out there, but for me, when I go to somebody that I want to mentor me, I want to know that they've walked that road.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go to an accountant that just got out of bankruptcy court.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Or the mechanic that drives a jalopy that he calls me for a ride, or something like that. And so that's part of that integrity that I was sharing with people about, something that I have always been honored, to know you and to mentor under you, even at times when you didn't know that I was mentoring under you. I think that you have that audience, for all the years that you put in with
Thank you, Brandy.
RKC, and Strong First, and just the strength community in general. I know we've seen each other at similar events. I don't know if you were like at Steve Maxwell's thing, and you know what I mean, and Perry's events, and
or some of the Strength Matters events. Sure.
Drinks Matters.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And so I just love to see that there's more opportunities for people online. I know for some things it takes price points down a little bit. I now have a membership of people that, you know, work with me, not on a private basis, but they still can have a deeper level of understanding and accountability at a private, not a private, but in a group atmosphere, a membership. And I just love the way that there's more access to people like you, that they don't need to be in San Diego. So that's great that you're moving to online. Well, I can't thank you enough for today. This was
thank you. No, thank you.
Super fun. And I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to ask you to stay where you are. I'm going to wrap up here and then I'll stop recording and then you'll and I'll chat. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to make sure that I post all of this stuff about my friend Franz and how to contact him. And please do. This guy really knows his stuff. And he's just this energy that you see. This is what you get. This is the real Franz, you know, that you see in there. And he just has a lot to share. And so at the very least, make sure you're following him online. And he's got a beautiful family. And I've literally watched them grow over the years. And that's so fun. And this whole virtual thing kind of makes the world a little bit smaller. So thanks for tuning in today for the Path for Hell. And don't forget to share this with somebody else that needs to hear this. And if you live in San Diego, then go, you know, hit him up. You know, he's great. You know, I don't know, I went to one of your first studios one time where I was working on, I can't remember what it was, like my snatch wasn't so great right before testing or something like that. And so, you know, you kind of tuned me up a little bit, which was great. So give him a call. Don't be shy. He's a great guy. And thanks for listening.